I don't know if the Raptors thought he was the Brazilian Shaquille O'Neal or something like that, but this draft pick was absolutely terrible. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Anthony Bruno Show. I am Anthony Bruno. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, especially if you're a Toronto sports fan, because in this video, I'm going over the Toronto sports top 5 draft busts over the last 20 years. I'm going to talk about all the draft picks you'd like to forget, the players who were hyped up, got us all excited, and then let us down. So let's go. Coming in at number 5 on my list of the Toronto sports top 5 draft busts over the last 20 years is Luke Schenn, who the Leafs drafted 5th overall in 2008. When you have a top 5 pick in the draft, you need to hit on the player you're selecting. It is so detrimental to miss on a top 5 pick in any sport. Schenn lasted just 4 years in Toronto before he was traded to Philly for James Van Riemsdyk, a trade that actually worked out very well for the Leafs. Back in 2008, the NHL was still in a time when smaller players got passed over for guys who were bigger and more physical, and Luke Schenn was a beast in junior for the Kelowna Rockets. He was so much bigger than everyone at such a young age, and I'm sure we all remember hockey broadcaster Pierre Maguire calling Schenn the human eraser after he laid so many big hits for Team Canada at the World Juniors. So the hype train was chugging along. The problem for Schenn is that the game was moving towards speed and skill, and he had none of that. So his game just wasn't suited for the post-04-05 lockout NHL. But to be fair to Schenn, he was thrust into a very tough situation. As a 19-year-old rookie defenseman, the Leafs were playing him over 21 minutes a game, so he did not have a chance whatsoever to develop his game in the AHL and gradually work his way up to the National Hockey League. Here are some of the notable defensemen taken after Schenn in the first round. Two-time Norris Trophy winner Erik Karlsson, Capitals stud defenseman John Carlson, also Tyler Myers, Jake Gardiner, and Michael Del Zotto. But despite not working out for the Leafs, Schenn has actually carved himself out a pretty decent career, playing over 750 games in the NHL. Alright, moving along now, coming in at number 4 on my list of the Toronto sports top 5 draft busts over the last 20 years is another Leaf. It's Jiri Tlusty, who Toronto drafted 13th overall in 2006. Prior to drafting Tlusty, the Leafs went 3 years in a row with just one first-round pick, which they used on Tuukka Rask, and then traded him for Andrew Raycroft. That deserves an entire video all by itself. But anyway, Tlusty was the first forward the Leafs drafted in the first round in 4 years, so the fan base was excited about it. But Tlusty played just 74 games for the Leafs, scoring only 10 goals, but he was amazing in the minors. He had 103 points in 105 games for the Marlies in the AHL, just couldn't figure it out at the NHL level. But just like I defended Luke Schenn a little bit, the Leafs did give up on Tlusty pretty quick, trading him midway through his 3rd season with the team when he was just 21 years old. They dealt him to Carolina straight up for a dude named Philippe Paradis. And to be fair to the Leafs, the 2006 draft just wasn't very good. After the first 7 picks, it was very shallow. The notable selections after Tlusty in the first round: Flyers captain Claude Giroux went 22nd overall, goaltender Semyon Varlamov went 23rd, and Brad Marchand went in the 3rd round, 71st overall to the Boston Bruins, easily the steal of the draft. Alright, coming in at number 3 on my list of the Toronto sports top 5 draft busts over the last 20 years, it's time to go to basketball now. Il Mago, Mr. Primo Pasta, whatever the hell you want to call him, it's Andrea Bargnani, who the Raptors took 1st overall in 2006. Remember what I said about Luke Schenn, how you can't miss when you have a top 5 pick in the draft? But oh my goodness gracious, you absolutely, under no circumstances, can miss when you have the 1st overall selection. You're supposed to get a surefire franchise player, but that sure as hell didn't happen here. And of course, it happens to the Raptors when they get the 1st overall pick for the first time in franchise history. The Raptors couldn't get the number 1 pick in the LeBron draft or the Dwight Howard draft or even the years Blake Griffin or Anthony Davis went number 1. No, they had to get the number 1 pick the year frickin' Andrea Bargnani was the top prize. But in defense of Bargnani, the 2006 NBA draft class just wasn't very good. And Bargnani actually had a decent NBA career, averaging 14 points per game over 10 seasons, but you need to have a bigger impact than that when you're the number 1 pick. But the problem the Raptors had at the time is that Chris Bosh was locked in as the team's power forward, so it seemed like taking a center like Bargnani was the right thing to do, as opposed to taking another power forward who did the same things as Bosh, like 7-time All-Star LaMarcus Aldridge, who went 2nd overall and should have been the number 1 pick. Here's the thing with Bargnani though, he came around 10 years too early. If he was drafted in today's NBA with all the spacing and the shooting, his career would have looked so much different. A 7-footer with skill who can stretch the floor and shoot threes, that's what every team wants these days. And fun fact, Kyle Lowry was actually taken 24th overall by the Memphis Grizzlies in the Bargnani draft, and years later, Lowry found his way to Toronto, so I guess it all ended up working out for the Raptors at the end of the day. Alright, coming in at number 2 on my list of the Toronto Sports top 5 draft busts over the last 20 years is Ricky Romero, who the Blue Jays drafted 6th overall in 2005. Projecting MLB draft prospects is harder than projecting prospects in any of the other 3 major professional sports. But the rise and fall of Ricky Romero is what made this situation so disappointing. Prior to drafting Romero, the Jays went 6 years in a row without a top 10 pick. They were a low to mid-80s win team during that stretch, but just couldn't make the playoffs. So after a bad year in 2004, the Jays had the 6th overall pick in 2005, and they were hoping to draft a franchise player for the future. And things started off good for Romero. He made his major league debut in 2009 at the age of 24 and had 3 nice seasons to begin his career, winning 13, 14, and 15 games, pitching an average of 204 innings over those 3 seasons with a very solid 3.6 ERA. He even made the All-Star team in 2011. Blue Jays fans thought, here we go, we finally have our ace of the future, but not so fast. The following season, he lost it, and it went downhill shockingly fast. In 2012, he led the league in walks and had a 5.77 ERA, and then in 2013, he pitched in the major leagues for the final time in his career. Just like that, it was over. To be fair to Romero, he was dealing with knee issues at the end of his big league career and torn quad tendons on top of that, but it just sucks to see someone with so much promise so early in their career fade away so quickly. And some notable picks after Romero in 2005, Troy Tulowitzki was the pick right after Romero, going 7th, and former NL MVP Andrew McCutchen went 11th overall. We have now reached number 1 on my list of the Toronto Sports top 5 draft busts over the last 20 years, and this one was absolutely egregious. It's Rafael Araújo, who the Raptors took 8th overall in 2004. I don't know if the Raptors thought he was the Brazilian Shaquille O'Neal or something like that, but this draft pick was absolutely terrible. To show you what I think about the selection of Araújo, here's a snippet from my hit record, I'ma Move to Boston, back in 2013.
I still have faith that they'll be good one day. First step is drafting an all-star who can actually lead the way. Not like Araújo, what a massive joke. Worst draft move in history, that is called a choke.
I mean, what the hell were the Raptors thinking here? Araújo played just 111 career games for Toronto over 2 seasons, averaging 2.9 points and 3 rebounds. I could have found someone at the rec center to do that. And then he was traded to the Utah Jazz for Chris Humphries and Robert Whaley, where he ended up being terrible for another 28 games and never played in the NBA again. There were some pretty good players taken after Araújo in the 2004 draft, most notably 2015 Finals MVP Andre Iguodala, who the 76ers took 9th overall, the pick right after Araújo, along with Al Jefferson, Josh Smith, J.R. Smith, and Jameer Nelson. but the Raptors could have taken almost anyone else in this draft, and it would have been a better decision than taking Rafael Araújo. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Let me know what you think of my Toronto Sports Top 5 Draft Bust and whether you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I would really appreciate it if you like the video, share it on social media, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, especially if you're a sports fan and want to see more content like this. It would really, really help me out. So that does it for this video, and I will see you guys next time.